Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It's Wednesday evening, which of course means it is match preview showtime, and it is Friday night football under the lights this coming weekend as the start of a busy festive period for both sides starts as we take on former playing star Michael Flynn's Cheltenham Town. And I'm pleased to say, making a second or third appearance, I think now on the channel, is Mark Halliwell. You can find him on X. Just search his name and put a 1 on the end of it and you will find him. He is the radio commentator for Cheltenham Town Football Club, of course, and he also contributes to the Robins Report podcast. So I'll put the details of the podcast in the description at the bottom of this video as well. First of all, Mark, hope you're well and welcome back to the channel.
Thank you very much, Matt. It's good to be back and making another trip to Priestfield. We haven't been to Priestfield for a while. Not quite sure about how excited I am to do it on a Friday evening just before Christmas, but we'll overcome that and we'll be there.
That's the EFL gods looking after away fans yet again, isn't it? Yeah, moving it to 7:45 on a Friday night, 4 days before Santa's due to come down the chimney.
I think the clubs did it, actually. I'm not sure the EFL had much to do with it. I think the clubs did it. I'm not sure, but I think it was the clubs who sort of got together, decided let's play on a Friday night. That'll be good for everybody.
Fair enough.
Don't quote me that as gospel, but that was my understanding anyway.
No, fair enough. It's usually the EFL's fault, so I just sort of went with the usual party line. It's two sides in relatively good form, isn't it, Mark? If we look, I'll just go through Gills quickly. Obviously, it's a Gills channel, so people know how Gills are playing. We've taken 10 points from the last 18 available. That's a draw against Swindon, defeats against Harrogate and Bromley, and then a trio of wins, all by the scoreline of 1-0 against Port Vale, Salford and MK Dons most recently. We currently sit 9th in League Two with 29 points from 19 games. In terms of Michael Flynn's men, it's 1 more point from the last half dozen. It's at 18 available, and you've taken 11. Draw against Bromley, the MK Dons game where you managed to throw away a 2-goal lead, but since then unbeaten. Wins against Tranmere and Morecambe to 0, and then decent draws against Port Vale and Doncaster. So you're currently on 26 points from 20 games and sit 13th in what is a very congested League Two table.
That's right. Yeah, it is very congested. In fact, we're actually on a run in all competitions. It's 2 defeats in the last 14. So which is 8 wins, 4 draws, 2 defeats. That takes into account the FA Cup and the Virtue Trophy as well. So since we lost to Swindon on October the 12th, which was a spectacular effort to manage to do that. I don't think even Swindon could quite believe that they'd beaten us. But since then, it's all turned around, and by and large, it's been very, very good. Bar the one poor performance was in the FA Cup at Salford when we lost 2-0 and missed out on a trip to Man City, which is a bit annoying. But aside from that, it's all been pretty pretty good. There've been some disappointments along the way. The Port Vale draw, they equalised in the 4th minute of stoppage time. The Bromley one, they equalised in the 87th minute and had 10 men for most of the game. And you mentioned that MK Dons game when we were absolutely outstanding and managed to lose to their only 3 shots. So there you go. All in all, it's been pretty good lately.
So it's been good, and it's just fine lines that have prevented you from being even better. You could have been looking at another sort of 4 to 6 points on top of that as well if you could. Yeah. No, if you played past 85 minutes.
Yeah, Michael Flynn's been very frustrated by it, and I think the more that we ask him about it, the more frustrated he gets.
Yeah, I'd imagine if you keep asking the same question, you don't want to keep bringing it up to you. But it's obviously something that's got to be addressed, and it could ultimately be the difference at the end of the season, couldn't it? So it's something that you want to sort out. We had a habit of chucking away leads through October and November. Went to Bradford and took the lead, lost 2-1. Home to Accrington, took the lead, lost 2-1. Home to Harrogate, took the lead, lost 2-1. Got back level against Bromley, lost 2-1.
We've done that a lot.
Yeah, it's
well, we've done that a lot. If you look back through our season, we lost at Barrow, we were 1-0 up. We lost at Salford, we were 1-0 up. We were ahead against Bromley and we drew. We were ahead against Milton Keynes and we lost. We were ahead against Port Vale and we drew. We were ahead twice at Doncaster recently and we drew. So same boat really. Same boat.
Yeah,
we've done the same. We scored first in a lot of matches and not won them. not won them, or not, and in some cases not got anything out of them. So yeah, it's a recurring theme, I think, across the division. I think it shows that anybody can beat anybody in this league. I think
literally everyone who I've had on the channel this season has said it is so open, isn't it?
I think there are a few teams who aren't very good that we've seen, and there are probably a little group in the middle of about 14 or 15 teams who are about the same, and who could all beat each other. And I think at the moment, as form shows, our two sides are probably in that group, and because we've been on runs where you can't win, and you've been on runs where you're winning and drawing regularly. So I think that does show what this division's like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've played top of the league on the date of the game 3 times, and we've beaten them all to 0. And then it's games where you say you expect to win, or you are expected maybe from the outside looking in to win, and you drop points in them games. So again, it just goes back to that point that literally anyone can beat anyone, and I suppose it's about the team that ultimately manages to stay on the right side of said fine lines more often than not, that ultimately might get into the top 3 or the top 7.
Yeah, I think there's a few teams there. I mean, I think Walsall are probably one of the best teams I've seen this year. We lost to them early in the season. We're playing them again just in the new year, so that'll be an interesting one. I thought Wimbledon were good when we played them. I thought they were strong. I thought they were physically strong, and sort of good in all areas, really. Aside from that, not really. I mean, as I say, we should have beaten Milton Keynes. We should have beaten Port Vale. We could have beaten Doncaster. They're all up in that top area. So, as I say, there's a couple of good sides, but not many.
No standouts, is there? Not like last season in this division. There was Wrexham and Stockport and Mansfield all eventually sort of pulled away from the pack, but it seems that nobody.
I think anybody who can get a run going can do something in this
Absolutely,
league.
yeah, and especially at this time of year, if you can go and win sort of 3 or 4 quickly over the festive period, you can jump up loads of positions. So it's a very important time, albeit probably not season defining at the same time. We've spoken about being in similar positions, and I think even going all the way back to just before the summer, we were in a similar position. We both appointed a new manager in May. I think Mark Bonner was appointed start of the month. Michael Flynn was later on in the month coming into Cheltenham. Having struggled at Walsall and Swindon most recently, having done really well at Newport. We all know about his exploits at Newport. First of all, keeping them in the Football League was a miracle in itself, and then all the FA Cup runs and that type of thing.
Yeah.
What was the fan base's reaction to his appointment at the time? And then part 2 of the question, Mark, is has that opinion potentially changed in favour of Michael over recent weeks, where the form has picked up and you're starting to see signs of essentially what he wants to do and what he wants you to be?
It was mixed at the start, I think. If you'd have asked me, like when Michael Duff was manager, so let's go back a few seasons. When Michael Duff was manager, sort of 21, when we won the League 2 title, COVID time and all that. If you'd said to me, if Michael Duff leaves, who do you want as your manager? I would have said Michael Flynn in a heartbeat. Because he was at Newport then and doing really well at a similar sort of club to Cheltenham. And I would have said, that's the man that I want as my manager. Then, as you say, he went to Walsall, he went to Swindon, didn't work out for him. And when he was appointed, it's funny because when Darryl Clark left, Darryl Clark was always going to leave, as far as I'm concerned. Darryl Clark was always going to leave. We should have stayed up last year. I know we had that horrendous start in League One, but we had enough chances in the latter half of the season to stay up, but we didn't take them. And when we went down, Darryl was always going to go. I remember talking to him on the pitch at Stevenage, and I thought, you're not going to be here next year. And then he did a fans forum. He'd done a fans forum just before the end of the season, and was very, very non-committal. And we thought, well, that's it. So he went off to Barnsley. Fair enough. Good luck to him. And then, if you'd have asked me then who is the best candidate to take over, it would have been somebody like Michael, somebody with a track record in League Two at a club with not a massive budget. Cheltenham's budget was the lowest in League One. It's been cut this year. I would say it's probably in the bottom 4 to 6 of League Two.
Okay.
That's where I'd put it. But then when he was appointed, everybody was going, "Oh, he didn't do very well at Walsall. He didn't do very well at Swindon." Yes, he did very well at Newport, but that was a while ago. And that was the sort of consensus, really. And he was a bit and then his first couple of games that he played, among the first few games of the season were his first game of the season was Newport at home, which is possibly the worst game he could have had to start the season. Because of course, all the questions in the run up to that game was, "Oh, you're playing against Newport. How's it going to go?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm going to hate it. It's my club and all this." And you're thinking, "Hang on a minute, you're the manager of Cheltenham, mate. Why are you?" And there were a few people out there saying, "Why is he going on and on about Newport? He doesn't manage them anymore," and all this sort of stuff. And that didn't help him. We beat Newport on the first day. That did help him. But then we went on a pretty bad run. We lost in the League Cup. We lost to Grimsby. We lost to Wimbledon. We lost to Walsall. We just got past Harrogate. We lost to Salford. We drew at Chesterfield. We lost to Fleetwood. So we were on a really pretty dodgy run of form. And there were a few fans even then saying, "No, this isn't right. He's got to go," and all this sort of stuff. The club, by the way, were never going to get rid of him. Never going to get rid of him. But there was a lot of disquiet, shall we say. And then we come to that Swindon game on the 12th of October that we lost 3-2 at home. 3-0 down just after half time. Terrible performance. And since then, it's turned up. And the turn up, I think there are a few people out there now thinking, "Yeah, all right then. Okay. Yeah, maybe I was wrong about you. Maybe you are going to be all right. Maybe you are going to turn us around." But it all comes down to expectations. 22 players left in the summer. 19 were signed. So what you've got is a totally different squad to last season. And with that, it takes time. It takes time to gel. It takes time to find a system that works for you. It takes time to find what players are going to work in what system. And since that game against Swindon, he's found it. He found the 4-2-3-1, or in some games a 3-4-3 that has worked for him and brought those results and turned it all around, really. So I think a lot of fans, there was, as like I said, it was mixed at the start. It got worse during that sort of run in September, October time. But now the majority of fans, I would say, have turned around and said, there's still some out there saying, "Oh, I'm still 50-50 on him. I'm not sure about him." And I think you're going to get that because they made their minds up before. And you know what football fans are like.
Oh, absolutely. And that's in every fan base, isn't it? Yeah, you get an opinion and then they won't say
they don't like to be. Some football fans don't like to be proved wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And won't admit that they have been proved wrong. But I think a lot of fans have a lot of fans will have said, "Okay, maybe I was wrong about him. Maybe he's going to do all right for us." And again, I think it comes down to expectations. I think those fans who thought, "Oh, well, we've come down to League Two, we're going to go straight back up again," not going to happen.
No,
not going to happen. The club have come out. The club and Michael have been quite clear in saying this season's about stability, it's about consolidation, and it's about making sure we don't go straight through the division, which I think was the big worry because our neighbours up the road, of course, our vegan friends not far from here, they went straight through the division. So, and that was always, I think, a little bit of a fear for us. So, and signs are that we're not going to do that. But I think only now, I think the most optimistic Cheltenham fans only will think that we've got a chance of getting in the top 7. I think most realistic fans will be quite happy with a mid-table consolidation. Yeah. If we finish where we are now, personally, I'd be quite happy with that.
Well, the season after we came down, so that was 21-22. I think the highest placed team out of the 3 other teams that came with us was 13th.
Yeah.
So it's not a division generally where you come down and you go straight back up. I think there's a couple. I think Port Vale might prove to be the exception this season, but they've spent a lot of money. But no, generally it is about consolidation when you drop into the basement division.
That's it. Our budget's been cut and we've signed a combination of young lads who've not played very much at this level and experienced players who have.
That's it. And like you say, it all takes time when there's such a big player churn. It's not going to be instant, is it? Or very rarely is it instant. I was looking at defensive records last season. Conceded, I think it was 65 in 46 league games, which I worked out to 1.41 per season, and that's all you relegated. I've worked it out this season. It's 28 in 20, I believe, which is 1.40. So technically there is an improvement defensively. And also I've noticed that your 26 goals have been scored by 11 different players. So you're spreading the responsibility around. I think you've got a couple on 5, there's 2 or 3 on 3, a couple more on 2. So in terms of getting goals from everywhere you are getting it. 2 questions. Will the defensive record, if it continues at the same rate, ultimately limit where you can finish this season? But again, that's based on what your expectation is. And similar to ourselves, if you want to push on a little bit higher, do you need one of them players to go on and have a very good second half to the campaign?
First bit, defensively has got better. We were giving away some horrific goals at the start of the season. I think the change of system has helped, because we were, one game we were playing a 3, one game we were playing a 4 earlier in the season, and as I say, he was mixing and matching it on. Let's try you this week. Let's try you, see how you get on. That sort of thing. No, that's not working. Right, you're out. So that was how it was happening. It was like 4 or 5 changes a match at the start of the season, and that wasn't really working. We haven't kept enough clean sheets. We've only kept 3 or 4 clean sheets. We kept one against Harrogate, Carlisle, Tranmere, and we get one on Saturday against Morecambe. So 4. The goalkeeper changed. Owen Evans got injured. He started the season in goal. That changed. Joe Day's come in. I'm not going to blame Owen for that. He got injured really, but since Joe Day has come in, he's more experienced. He commands. He's much more commanding. He's much more confident than Owen, and I think that has had an effect on things. Sam Stubbs has been massive for us at the back. Came in on loan from Bradford. He's just got better. He started really well, dropped off a bit, but then since then he's got a lot better, and he's been outstanding of late. We'll find out in January whether Bradford will let us keep him. That could be quite a big decision for it could have quite a big bearing on what happens in the new year. If we can't keep him, then we've got to try and find someone else to do the same job, really. So we need to try and maintain what we've been doing defensively. We have still given some bad goals away. Those Milton Keynes goals will haunt me for a while. But more by and large, we've been a lot better defensively in the last sort of 2 months than we were in the first 2 months. So fingers crossed that will continue. The second part, was that about goals scored? Yes.
Just whether you need an individual to go on and have a good individual campaign.
Well, it's been a bonus because we didn't score for 11 games last year. It's been a massive bonus. There are still people who I think would like to see somebody, because for years, of course, for a few seasons we had Mr. May, of course, paying him for fun, and then of course it was, what are we going to do if he gets injured? Nobody else is scoring any goals. But now we're spreading them around a bit, and we look more dangerous. We've scored in every away league game this season, which is very rare. We haven't done that for many seasons. The only time we've scored, in this many away games in a row was the season we won the National League in 15-16.
Okay.
And we've done pretty well. I think there's only we didn't score against Wimbledon, we didn't score against Fleetwood, and that's it for league games. So we've scored in practically every league game at least one goal. And fingers crossed that will continue at Priestfield. Sorry, Matt. But
it's fine.
We're scoring goals, and I'm not worried about I'm personally not worried that if one player doesn't carry on, as long as we carry on doing what we're doing. We could end up with, as you say, we've got 2 players on 5 at the moment, Ethan Archer, and George Miller. And fingers crossed, if it carries on like this, then we'll have 2 or 3, maybe 4 players on 10 goals by the end of the year. If they keep going as they're doing, and others can pick up a little bit. So I think if we're going to finish in mid-table like it looks, then we just need to carry on doing what we're doing.
And then back to that expectation, then maybe anything else would be a bonus.
Exactly that.
One player that has stood out is a lad called Ethan Archer. I think plays on the left-hand side of a midfield 3, supporting a lone striker. 20 appearances, 16 starts. He's got 5 goals and 4 assists from that set of games. And looking at the apps that I use, he's got an average rating of over 7 this season. So he's having a fine season based on numbers. Obviously, you can do the eye test as well. I was going to ask who else, but you've already mentioned Joe Day, Sam Stubbs have been really good. So just how good and how impressed have you been with Ethan Archer?
Well, he's been a bit of a find, if I'm being honest with you. He was playing for 3 Bridges in the Ispian League.
Okay.
And Gary Johnson took him to Torquay. Gary Johnson's now back at the club, by the way, as our director of football. Right back in the summer. And Aaron Downs is our assistant manager. He was assistant manager to Gary at Torquay, so they knew about him. And they brought him in. He came in on trial and in the summer. And when he signed, it was all a bit low key. We signed this, Cheltenham Town have signed young midfielder Ethan Archer. We're like, okay, well, we'll see how he gets on. He might get a few sub appearances, and didn't start in the opening few games, and he's now the only player in the squad who's featured in every league game.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. It's 20 appearances.
Done that. So he's been a bit of a revelation, really. He's been somebody who's come in. I think he's surprised quite a few people within the club, with how well he's done in such a short space of time. He's been absolutely outstanding. We went to Rotherham in the cup, and he was absolutely unplayable on that day. And he's been like that. Recent games, I've noticed that clubs have started to double up on him, and tried to sort of and have spotted that he is the threat, which is what you'll get. And he's been a bit patchy recently, but that is because of that. And now it's down to him to try and find a way to sort of combat that, and that's what he's gonna find. A lot of supporters, of course, are very, very worried that clubs are going to come and try and sign him in January, which is always how it comes about. I've got a theory. I think he's a Peterborough player, if you know what I mean.
That is the type of player they sign, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. He if you look at the players that they've signed, people like Ephron Mason-Clark, and you look at the sort of players that they've signed and where they've signed them from in recent years. I think Kabongo Shamanga's another one that they got.
The lad from Harrogate last summer didn't they as well play wide right. They've got
you know what I mean.
Poku at the moment,
Poku's another one. Yeah, you know what I mean. He's that sort of player. He's one of these tricky little players. But what Michael Flynn plays them inverted, because Jordan Thomas plays on the right. He's left-footed, and Ethan plays on the other side. So they're sort of inverted, and a lot of fans would say, "Well, try and swap them over." But at the moment, it sort of works, and he's been a real revelation, Ethan, and fingers crossed that he'll get the chance to develop with us at least for the rest of this season. Because if he carries on as he is now and ends the season, like you say, 5 goals, 4 assists, if he ends up with, say, double figures for both, if he ends up with 12 goals, 12 assists or something like that by the end of the season, then it's a no-brainer that clubs will be thinking, hang on
absolutely, yeah, he's going to get noticed, isn't he?
Cool, look, he's done that in the middle of League Two. Let's have a look at him. So while we've got him, we're going to enjoy him, but he's been a real find for us.
No, he's good, especially coming from that level. I didn't look, actually, I must admit, to see where he'd come from. I just noticed his numbers jumped off the page straight away when I was doing the notes. So, yeah, it's certainly one of a few to keep an eye on Friday night. I noticed you were saying earlier, Mark, about how Michael kept sort of flipping between a back three and a back four early on in the season. It seems you've consistently been at a back four now. So was it merely a coincidence then that you actually played a back three against MK Dons and contrived to lose a 2-goal lead in the second half?
Well, yeah, it was. Well, he played it. It was interesting that he did that, but no, I just think we actually played really. We were brilliant for an hour against them. Absolutely brilliant for an hour. They, especially, I mean, the first 30 to 35 minutes, they didn't know what hit them. They could not cope with us at all. As I say, because we played that three. Jordan Thomas actually played. I said he played on the right. He plays a left wing back in that game. So him and Archer were on the same side, and then you had Lewis Payne on the right hand side with Joel Colwell, and those players were causing all sorts of problems. They actually got help. MJ Williams was playing in the middle of their back three, and he got injured. And then Lawrence Maguire switched over because Lawrence Maguire was having a terrible time against Payne and Colwell, and he moved inside, and it actually helped them, strangely enough. And they were actually better after that. And we gave a poor goal away to Alex Gilby. We were 2-0 up. We gave a poor goal away to Alex Gilby, and that goal at 2-1 sort of changed it a bit, really. And then they got the second, and then they got the winner, and 3 very, very poor goals to give away. I don't think the change of formation to the 3 didn't really affect that. It was just poor defending generally. I think we could have defended that poorly with a 4 as well.
No, it just made me laugh.
No,
really, because it was out of all them last 6 that I looked at, you played a 4-2-3-1, and the only one you managed to lose from 2-0 up was a back 3. So I had to ask.
I get it. No, it wasn't. It was just rank bad defending.
Just a rubbish half hour that cost you.
Correct.
Final question before I let you go and enjoy your evening. It's always the dreaded score prediction.
We're actually better away from home. We actually do play better away from home. I mean, you look at the results lately. We won at Colchester, we won at Carlisle, we won at Rotherham in the Cup. That MK one was a bit of an anomaly. The good draw that we got at Doncaster, and another ranked bad one at Salford in the Cup. But by and large, in recent weeks, we've been better away from home than we have at home, in my view. I'd snap your hand off for a draw.
Okay.
I think, given the fact it's on a Friday night, and for us, it's not the greatest journey to make. I'm going to be really dull and sit on the fence and say 1-1, Matt. I think that's where I'm going to go. I think it'll be a decent game, though. As I say, I think we've got 2 good sides. I think we'll come and try and play. Definitely, we're not going to come and sit back and defend, because we can't do that. Our best players are in our forward areas and are in that 3 behind George Miller, Archer, Joel Colwell, and Thomas. They're our best players, and they're the ones that we'll try and use. So, and Michael Flynn said it before. His quote after that MK Dons game was, "Well, we obviously can't defend very well, so we'll have to go on the front foot and attack." So that's what we'll do.
Because we've struggled at home in recent weeks. We're not scoring enough goals, so we've beaten Salford and Port Vale at home in recent weeks 1-0. But our Achilles heel has been teams that sit in Accrington, Newport, Harrogate, all defeats at home. So I was going to sit on the fence as well and say 1-1, but now that you've told me that you might leave us a little bit of space in behind, I'm going to go for us to pinch it and back our home form to just get us over the line by 2-1.
Fair enough. No, I do think we will. I don't think we're capable of going away from home and sitting in, and we will. We're set up for counterattacks. That's what we're set up for. We're set up for counterattacks. So, and that's more or less what we'll do. If we were to sit in and say, right, well, we'd be delighted with a draw. We'd be delighted with a 0-0. No chance.
We shall see what happens on Friday evening. Mark, as always, it's been a real pleasure. I could sit here and talk all night, but I've got to go and help make the dinner in a minute. So thank you very much for your time, mate. Gills fans and Cheltenham fans, as I always say, if you're still watching at this point, then thank you very much. Please go and give Mark a follow for all of the build-up during and after the game this coming weekend. Myself, Stocky and Ava and anyone else will be at the Priestfield for a match day live. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week and up the Gills.